Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, the 20th of September. I'm back. So I'm still going to talk about this world and about all, rather than thinking of myself, as much as I would like to do that and have the space to do that. Because I've just looked what was going on in the UN and in other places. Children are dying. People are starving. There's a brutality in this world that is beyond belief. And it needs to be sorted. There needs to be a shift of consciousness. Or we will destroy ourselves. I mean, we're well on the way. We're not going to destroy this world. The other levels will exist. The mineral, the vegetative, the animal, they will still be here. But we will have destroyed ourselves. And our great temples and our great achievements will be taken over again by the plants. Yeah? And the monkeys will go back into your temples of knowledge. And they will live in there when you are gone. So to prevent this from happening, I want to talk about the fallen world and the fallen angels that are creating this world. And what is a fallen angel? We need to have knowledge, understanding of what these words mean and what the texts are saying. Because this world is first of all created on the spiritual level. It is the spiritual that creates the solid outcome. You need to understand on that level to understand the solid outcome. So what is a fallen angel? Well, some would say, it is a being that should be in service to God and doesn't do what it's been told to do. It has fallen from the will of God. And then others would say it is like good and bad. You know, if you see an angel slaughter, then you call that bad, and then you would say they're fallen angels. But this whole thing of good and bad does not actually work as far as angels are concerned. Because if you go into the text, and the angels were told to slaughter in Egypt, the angels were told to slaughter all the babies, the firstborns. Then if they had refused to do that, they would have been fallen angels. And then, good and bad doesn't really work in that situation, does it? Because by doing something horrendous, they would have been full on angelic in the will of God. By refusing to do something horrendous, they would have been fallen. So that is not actually what a fallen angel is. It's nothing to do with good and bad. In fact, you cannot determine what an angel is by looking at it or looking at what it does. Because the whole point of an angel is that they no longer have a self. They are fully within the will of God. They have no will of their own. They have no thoughts of their own. They have no knowledge of their own. Well, not knowledge of good and bad anyway. They do as they are told. Whether they be messengers that faithfully regurgitate the words of God without adding anything of themselves into it, or they actually do things. Either way, it's not them, because they do not have a them, they don't have a self. So in the actions of an angel, you cannot determine what an angel is, because it is basically nothing. It is nothing. It is an empty shell that has been remote controlled from somewhere else. The only thing you can determine from the actions of an angel is what their master is. Well, yeah, you can reason that, no problem. Yeah. So the angels go out and slaughter everything around them. Yeah, you can reason what their master might be, or what kind of being their master is, their God. You can see God in the angels, but not the angel itself, because it does no longer exist as a being, as an autonomous being, something with a self. And this is where we're being led. No, right, first of all, so fallen does not mean good or bad. It does not mean doing the will of God or not. There is a natural state of angel, as far as I can see, as far as I understand. There is a natural state of angel, and that is a state in the evolution of consciousness, where you have a being that has naturally very little self-awareness, because it had never gotten to that state, evolved into that state of self-awareness. So in this world, I would say the angelic ones is the level of the vegetative or the animal. Now, a lot of animals are already going to the next state of self-awareness, which is then actually the state of man. A sense of self would be the level of man, the level of consciousness that is man. And then you go from there, and it's said in the Bible, once man gets an idea of good and bad, a sense of good and bad, he enters into the realm of the divine, of the gods. So yeah, there are natural angelic beings. They are that because that is their natural state of development. The fallen ones are the ones that were on a higher state of development, that already reached the level of man or maybe even further, and that then fell back, regressed into the angelic state. That is a fallen angel, and a lot of people in this world have regressed to the state of fallen angel. And they are the mindless vessels that are doing the will of their masters. And again, look at what the vessel does, and you can see what the master is. And if you're still on the level of man, or even beyond that, that you know good and bad, yeah, judgment is with God. If you know good and bad, then you are on the level of a God, then judge. Do according to the level of consciousness that you're on, then judge. Now, there are teachings in this world. Christianity is one of them, no doubt, that are there to regress a being from the state of man, or maybe even divine, back to the state of the angelic. That is a fall. That is not an ascension. That's a fall. Jesus, with his teaching of the cross, the way of the cross, the denial of self, Paul came and absolutely doubled down on that and taught it. Let's look very closely. He taught that to the Gentiles. Yeah, he was apostle to the Gentiles. You're not allowed to teach that to Jews, but you teach it to the Gentiles, because the Gentiles should be the mindless servants of the Jews who see themselves elevated. So, as I said, you had Jesus, and then some already see the Eastern elements in the teaching of Jesus, and then they go full on East. And then, yes, denial of self, kill the ego, become spiritual, which is nonsense. I think that the really big difference between the teaching of Jesus and the New Age movement at the moment is that the New Age movement will create an empty vessel that is pretty much general purpose. Anything and everything could rule over that in the end. There's no specifics, yeah? Really, general purpose empty vessels that have no conscience, that have no knowledge of self, because they've killed that, and that have no consciousness, no knowledge of self, no conscience, no knowledge of good and bad. So, New Age, general purpose, whereas I think what Jesus did was more a purpose-built vessel to serve one specific master, God, being. The biblical God. Yeah, so it's a bit more purpose-built vessel. Still, they all become empty vessels. That is the idea. Yeah, and for New Agers, no, you are not going to know the Creator. Every ancient teaching will tell you he cannot be known. He's the unfathomable one, the unknowable one, the inconceivable one. He cannot be known, he cannot be attained. The Hermetics say any attempt to know all will fry you, will lead to insanity inevitably. He does not exist as one being. He is all beings. He is everything. Everything is Creator. So you're believing on something that does not even exist. But it doesn't matter actually, because this whole thing is, most don't know the biblical God either, which I believe are actually existing beings, but they don't know them either. It's built on belief. It's there, and it's showing you the way, and you must kill the ego, and you must ask nothing for yourself, and you must be the joyful servant to the higher power. Both teachings are creating the same outcome, which is a being that has no self. And here comes, if you achieve that, glory, hallelujah, you have become an empty vessel with no knowledge of self, no self-determination, no knowledge of good and bad. Once you have achieved that, if you build it, they will come. You have created yourself. They will come to take possession. They will come to take possession. You have put the ego, Satan, out of the way to open the door. Yeah? Once you build it, once the mindless servant is firmly established, the master will come to take possession of the temple that you have created for them. And that's what's happening in this world. Humanity is becoming increasingly angelic. And as I say, you know the master by what the servant is doing. Then see what is taking possession of this world through us. Through us becoming angelic. Through us forgetting what we actually are. We are at least the level of man. A lot of us have already reached into divinity. And you are being regressed. Now there are those, and I do believe they exist, outside of this world, that are directing the affairs of man, that are teaching man how to become angelic. A man is falling over itself to do it, thinking he's going up in the world or in the cosmos. No, you're not. You're going down. Those that are not in this world. There is a minimum requirement in this world of consciousness and conscience. Yeah? They are not in this world because they are a level of consciousness that is below that of an amoeba. They don't even make the minimum requirement of consciousness to even enter into this world. That's why they're out there. And we have to lower ourselves to become their servants. You are becoming the servants of a really, so low level consciousness it can't even enter into this world. And you're making yourself a servant to them. And that is really the difference between a fallen angel and something that is naturally on the angelic state, in the angelic state, because that's its state of development. Those that are fallen have fallen from a greater level of consciousness. And what makes them so absolutely dangerous is that whilst they were on the level of man, or just above, they gained knowledge, they had intelligence, they gained knowledge, maybe became experts in different fields, biology, physics, in the sciences. They have that knowledge and they keep that knowledge, and again, they bring that knowledge in service to the one, to the ruler, that will determine what's to be done with that knowledge, to serve himself, to serve the kingdom or whatever. That is why man is far more dangerous, or can be far more dangerous than any animal. You go back to the same state, angelic state, but you have knowledge. Which makes you infinitely more dangerous. That is why man has become the most dangerous thing in this world. Because, those that have fallen from the state of man, falling from the state of consciousness and of conscience that is man, they are the most dangerous things. They are the fallen angels, and they are the most dangerous thing in this world. And it is a knowledge of what it is we are and what it is we're in and what the hell is happening around us. Whereas at the moment we're becoming angelic. Great, we're all going to heaven. What a wonderful thing. No, it's not. You're fallen from a state of consciousness to a lower state of consciousness. It's not good. We're calling good evil and evil good. God is in a delusion, thinking that he's the only one that's creating all, that he is the creator. There is no one being that is the creator. So God is in a delusion, and Yaldabaoth's delusion, that kind of mindset, and that is not just one being. I would say any species that has developed could have conceivably gone down that path and developed that complete malfunction. So the gods are in a delusion, and that delusion is spreading to the world, and that people believe and make themselves into angelic beings to serve that. You become an empty vessel, folks. New Agers. Once you build it, they will come. And you will have no knowledge of good and bad or anything else. You've done away with self. You become an empty vessel in service to something else. And most likely not good. So why am I still talking about this? Why am I still so determined that we should understand these things on this level? Because this is the level on which the material is created. That is the source. That is the source. There are many in this world that will try to change the material on the level of the material. And you can achieve small things. Yeah, you can achieve something. They go out demonstrating, they may topple governments, they may burn down their cities, whatever is going at the time. And you might hang some of them, or put them to the guillotine, depending on where you are. You will never get the master builders. You will never get those on the highest level of spiritual knowledge. Or all you are hanging or destroying are the angelic ones. And they are just the mindless servants. And they can be replaced. New angels will be created by the master builders and their teachings. See, God is spirit, has spiritual knowledge. High level of spiritual knowledge, and they create through the word, through the teaching. And you can destroy what they have built in the physical over and over and over again. As long as those teachings are still in this world, they will rebuild. And the same structures, the same physical structures will come up over and over and over again, because they were built on the same spiritual knowledge. Those are trees of knowledge that create. And if you want rid of them, you have to rip them up at the root, and the root is spiritual. And that is it. If we do that, then we stop going around in circles. Until then, we will do just that. We always have done that. Because whereas the structures were destroyed, the spiritual teachings, the word, survived and created the same solid reality over and over again. So yes, we must become spiritual. Absolutely, we need to have an understanding of the spiritual. Right now, it seems spiritual seems to mean, well, we're all going, either we're going to heaven, or we're becoming angelic, or we're fluttering off into infinity and beyond altogether. None, straight past the point, especially the New Ages. Straight past the point. Yeah, we're going into infinity and beyond. We know the Creator that creates. The Creator that creates is a lot closer to home. You are skyrocketing straight past the point. And you will have never known it. That's why I'm still talking about this, because that is the level on which this world can be changed. It is the only level on which this world can be changed, because it is the source of all evil. It's spirit. Anyway, here I leave it at that for today. If you are in agreement with what I say, please share my videos. Please give me a voice in this wilderness. Because right now I haven't really got one. I'm ready to say it. I am ready to say it. If you would give me a space where I can do that. Anyway, here, I leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.